All right. Sorry about that. Wait, where'd Ken go? What? Hold on. Welcome back, everyone. I'm just waiting for it to appear out of the studio now. Wait, talking to the wrong person. Oh, there you go. Or here. And I can't see your camera though, so something's up. Welcome back, everybody, to Creative Briefs. This is our weekly news show where we discuss key topics, and it's a recap of all the top news from the creator economy. Sorry about that little snafu back there. We had to restart the streaming server behind the scenes. But yeah, welcome back. We have a lot of news to get through, so we're going to jump right into it. But every week we do bring you all the latest news, some of our analysis, and occasionally when we have time, a deep dive into one of the topic areas. But generally speaking, that seems to not be the case anymore. We do go live on Fridays at 8 a.m. Actually, let me bring our deck up so that I can actually share these things, right? We do go live on Friday at 8 a.m. and you can find out more over at created.show. It is the official show page for the Created Economy. We do stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter Spaces. So feel free to join us, audio or video, whatever suits you best. We do also post longer form content over at createdeconomy.com. So we encourage you to head over there as well if you want to see it. This is episode 12 of this show, along with 21 episodes of our other show. Plus a few office hours. Wow, we're moving through it. But yeah, in case you don't know, we do have 3 shows a week. One on Tuesday, which is our created office hours. On Wednesdays, we have the Created Economy, which is our interview series. And on Fridays, we have this show, the news show. So feel free to tune in.
Are you hinting at a Thursday show already? Like we don't have Monday or Thursday, so we might as well tack those on.
It is easy to stream every day. It's just hard to prepare to stream.
Maybe Monday we do a game show format, and Thursday we do telenovela. I don't know.
For other things we could be doing, by all means, we welcome knowing what you think they are. So send us some tips. Actually, a good way to send us those tips would be to follow us over on YouTube, Twitter, Flipboard, or Twitch. We are Created Economy in all those places. So feel free to give us a follow. We are also doing our official AMA drop. AMA is the official coin of the Created Economy show. It is a way to show your that you're part of the community, show your support for us, and you can show your support by taking our free money. So feel free to head over to bit.ly/AMA-drop-8 if you want to grab it. I think we've tweeted it. I'll try to drop it into the space as well for everyone out there. If you're watching, you can scan that QR code. We also do have a Slack. So if you're a builder in the industry or a creator, an investor, and you want to sort of get involved and have join the conversation and talk to us in between episodes, which clearly there's not that much time between episodes, but feel free to jump in and you can join us over on Slack as well. And with that, Ken, let's get straight. I need to share your screen back in.
I'm working on it right now. And Greg is off, so we will get right to it here. Let's see. All right, so in lieu of that, here we go. Ain't tech great? Anyway, so our first news item today is basically reports that PayPal is looking to buy Pinterest, which is actually a pretty interesting deal. It's reportedly worth about $45 billion. There's a lot of people that were kind of surprised by that move, although according to the information's reporting, this is an opportunity for PayPal to get into the creator economy. Some fun facts here. This is it's not a cheap acquisition for PayPal. If this deal goes through, there's no word that it actually will happen. But if it does go through, it's going to be one of the biggest, smallest social networks, social media platforms that Pinterest could buy. Biggest, smallest, meaning that Pinterest is certainly not a giant compared to Facebook and YouTube, though it is it's a juggernaut in this social media space and the the interactive platform, digital platform type of space. It has 400 million monthly active users. Pinterest does. And it's there's been a lot of moves that Pinterest has made in the creator space, including just recently launching a $20 million creator fund, very similar to Facebook and everybody and TikTok and everybody else. They've also recently announced new things such as, well, obviously idea pins, a watch tab, the new try-on stickers, and even an
What's
original
the
series
play
called
here?
Creator.
I
I'm
don't get
sorry?
it. Like, I don't get it. What's the play though? Like, why does PayPal want Pinterest?
Well, I mean, Pinterest is a it's all about interest. It's an interest base, right? And what PayPal it's an opportunity to sell, right? Because PayPal is probably doing shopping a lot better than what you get on Instagram and TikTok and Snap, right? There's a little bit more of a I don't know, like a little bit more of a natural feel to actually make a purchase on Pinterest, perhaps. Unfortunately, we haven't seen like any data right now that shows that Pinterest is to support that necessarily. But obviously I'm speaking anecdotally. But you look at what Pinterest's whole their DNA at the beginning is all about bookmarking, right? It's about like, oh, I like this idea. I can put this in my scrapbook, my pin, I could put a pin on it, right? And maybe then there's obviously some conversion to saying, okay, I see this pin. I want to make a purchase. I want to buy this thing. And that's something a lot different type of mentality than what you would get on Facebook, Instagram, Snap, TikTok, and the like, right? Not to say that those aren't catching up. Like there's certainly shopping capabilities on all these other platforms, but I think Pinterest is probably a little bit one. It's more in line with what PayPal is thinking that they want to do, and specifically getting into the creator space and getting into the shopping space and catering towards that audience. But it's also a little bit more palatable for their bottom line that they can actually afford. 45 billion as opposed to them going and buying TikTok or buying Snap, right? It's like Snap
Yeah,
doesn't
this
necessarily give them.
article starts off kind of with this notion of PayPal trying to enter the creator economy, which I don't know. That seems like a bit of a reach, but I guess.
Well, I mean, I think it's like you look at, whether any type of transaction, any type of money transaction, you look at Stripe, right? For example, Stripe has been involved in the creator economy for quite some time in terms of facilitating tipping. I think they like Clubhouse used Stripe to allow tipping. Twitter Spaces uses it as well. I think also PayPal is part of that, or Square is part of that with Twitter Spaces. I can't recall. So there's a lot of there's some synergy in there, and
It seems kind of stupid to me. Like this just seems like Yahoo buying things like way back when, like just for the sake of like being Web 2.0 shit.
No, you're right, and it could be also a play where for PayPal to say, "Hey, I want to remain relevant in this space. They don't want to acquiesce it." I think PayPal still has a lot to offer in the digital space, and especially in the creator space. How well they play it off, and,
Mhm.
because look, it's a lot easier for uh, startups that are in the creator space to say, "Hey, I just want to use Stripe or I want to use Square," because it's a lot easier than PayPal. And let's be frank, like under the like years ago, PayPal has been horrible, has
Mhm.
been horribly delayed in terms of reaching developers, right? So they've been kind of have this trend to being late to the game. So, but under this new under their current leadership, who knows? Maybe they're saying, hey, they want to be now at the forefront. They want to be a leader as opposed to kind of like waiting a few years to see how it all shapes out and then going in. I mean,
Well, I mean, but like here, like to compare, Stripe is not trying to figure out how to buy somebody, right? Like, and by the
yeah.
way, PayPal does power a tremendous. Like, the problem I have with this article is that the media doesn't talk about PayPal because the media doesn't talk about PayPal in the creator space, except how many creators make their money on PayPal? Like, probably as much as Stripe does, right? Like,
Mhm.
because like internationally, like all the payouts, all the platforms, all those other like PayPal is the way that you get paid on OnlyFans, right? Like there's billions of dollars being pushed out there, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's more of a failing of the press than it is like because PayPal is not actually a pretty important part to the creator economy itself.
No, and I don't disagree with that at all. I think, it's like I think that the for this particular article,
Yeah.
that's the angle where saying, hey, they want to get into the creator economy. I think there's obviously a lot more. It's a lot bigger of an issue than just saying, hey, they want to buy Pinterest just for the creator economy. I think there's a lot deeper shopping,
Yeah.
e-commerce type of play that you can look into this.
Yeah, I guess
I
this is an end run around Shopify more than it is an end run around
Yeah,
Amazon.
I think so. I mean, I would probably, I wouldn't be surprised to see, I would probably be less surprised to see Pinterest make an attempt at Shopify, but I don't think that would actually be in the cards, just because, again, this is Pinterest's 45 billion is probably a little bit more digestible for PayPal, as opposed to going after Shopify, which is probably way more valuable, right?
Mhm.
But I kind of also I kind of think, I can't recall like a specific example, but I know there's an example where, uh, a big platform like this would buy like a social media, and you're like, wait, what? Like, I guess it's almost like Microsoft buying LinkedIn, right? It's like, why would you buy that? It doesn't necessarily make sense, but it kind of
Well, at
the
least I could
combination kind of
squint.
works.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's probably an equally sort of non-obvious. I mean, Microsoft obviously, has Office. It's connected. It runs like tons of corporation. I like at least the LinkedIn
Yeah.
part kind of makes sense to me there. But
Or for
anyway,
example, Amazon buying Twitch, right? Not necessarily synergy. Like, it's an adjacency. Like, obviously, it's something that Amazon, like, hey, we think this is
yeah.
a big frontier. We obviously powered by the cloud. There we go. So, it's like, could it be like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon type of situation, or this is something that, that maybe PayPal's forming this theory, like, okay, we think this is where it can go, and this is our hypothesis, and
Yeah.
if it work, we're hoping for best, as opposed to, we think this will definitely work. This is something that, like, oh, let's bolster our, if they were in this more into the social media side of things, PayPal was, it obviously would make sense, right? It's like, oh, it's to augment what they have. This is a new area necessary for PayPal, right? I mean,
Yeah. All right. We spent too much time talking about this. Let's move on.
all right, Instagram news. So, nothing spectacularly shocking here. But just highlighting the news. Instagram's now allowing you to upload photos from the desktop, which, is I think it's kind of a good thing. It's not necessarily a breakthrough. But for those of you that are, that use maybe like a DSLR, or updating photos on using Lightroom or whatever else desktop software there is, this makes it a lot easier to post, as opposed to saying, okay, downloaded the file, let me upload it to a Dropbox, or airdrop it or whatever, and then upload and then upload it via Instagram mobile app. It's like, this makes it a little bit more seamless. And also, there are announcing collabs, which basically is allowing two people obviously collaborate with each other on reels or posts, on a single feed, and that post gets shared with all the contributors. So, for example, if we're like, hey, let's Greg, you and I, let's post a reel about this show, we could just do it from one feed, and then it'll be seen by the people that follow us on Instagram. So, other things that are coming to Instagram, obviously we talked about desktop support, the ability to create fundraisers within post, and also new music video editing features that are coming, including new music, those type of things. So nice little, just nice little update that's coming to Instagram. I mean, it makes it easier for people to
It
post.
amazes me sometimes how, like, behind this, like the times Instagram can feel
Yeah.
when it comes to this space, right? This is, by the way, not even like this is like behind from a workflow point of view. They're obviously been behind from a monetization point of view, right? Like, there's just like, so they still don't have an iPad app, right? So yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
I mean, who knows? I mean, with the fact that now they have desktop support, maybe they will
Well, here,
expand it
Ken,
out further.
what I would say is this: is my guess is because they want to, as they alluded to being a video platform, right? Like, I think they sort of know that, hey, you're not going to be able to post or create good video just purely on your phone, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's very cumbersome to like have to like create an asset, then like airdrop it or whatever to your phone to be able to put it in Instagram. So my guess is that this is lining up more so to get more video content into a workflow.
or maybe even more professional style professional quality type of video, right? I
For
mean, it's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can, if you buy into like what iPhone or what Apple's been touting with the iPhone 13, right? It's like, oh, cinematic mode, you do it all, everything's filmed on an iPhone. I mean, yeah, you can natively upload it there, but there's also a lot of, some people may prefer post production work, right? So then that has to go somewhere, that whether that goes to a desktop where it has more power than well, most likely has more power than an iPhone. Then what? Then you have to get it back, but then then you reshare it to your phone, and then maybe upload it. And maybe you don't have the necessary bandwidth to do. Maybe it's really sluggish. So if you do it directly from your desktop, there's less lag, less time to waste, and it's a lot easier, and you have a higher speed, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
All right, we'll
uh,
see. Collabs is a good idea, though. I like that.
yeah. Speaking of collabs, don't be fooled by fake, these fake collaborations on YouTube. So apparently, Russian hackers are tricking, YouTube creators into saying, "Hey, we will, we want to do a deal with you for, whether it's anti-virus software or whatever," and then as a result, they will gain access to the YouTuber's channel, essentially hijacking and taking over. So bottom line here, so this comes from a threat assessment from Google, right? They say they in since May of this year, May of 2021, they've blocked 1.6 million phishing messages and also restored almost 4,000 accounts targeted by this type of a campaign. So just make sure that you are, thoroughly investigating these deals. Just,
I don't
don't be fooled
understand
by this.
how would you? What would make you do this? Like, it's amazing.
I think, it's like maybe that, like, they're not necessarily targeting,
Like
the
what would make
ninjas of
you
the
say
world.
yes? Like what would like what would make us say yes, right? To like actually, like giving someone access to our YouTube somehow, like that just strikes me as
Well,
completely crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's like the, false collaboration opportunities with YouTubers ranging from free antivirus software, and that's the funny thing. I'm suckering you in with free antivirus software, and this is a phishing scam. I like, it's like, it's kind of like there's a slight bit of irony there, to online games, right? So maybe, I think people's eyes are bigger than their stomach, right? And like they're looking at this and they're like, oh my god, like I have a brand deal, and they, there's not saying that, Google hasn't released necessarily like the type of people that are being scammed, right? Do they have large audiences? Do they have small, are they small channels, right? So, maybe they're like, oh yeah, we'll they'll bait you and then somehow reverse engineer and gain access to your account and use it to further perpetuate the scam, or wind up selling your account so you lose access to your followers and whatnot. So TLDR, make sure that you are fully aware of who you're dealing with. Don't fall for these type of things.
Yeah.
So all right, next, speaking of YouTube, staying with that topic, YouTube, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Nice little exploration of how YouTube manages to keep some creators happy and informed about what's working on their platform. And as I read this this article from the Wall Street Journal entitled "How YouTube Makes Sure Its Hitmakers Don't Stumble," I'm reminded of FamePick. I'm reminded of other talent agencies that are out there that are specializing in the creator space. Let me see. I had a bunch of notes here. So basically, in summary, YouTube has 1,000 employees in their talent management team dedicated to offering advice and guidance to creators. This is very similar to what Snap, TikTok, Instagram have or are working on. That's not surprising that you're not going to that we. It's not surprising to see these type of things, and I expect more of these to happen, especially from a native perspective, as opposed to third party agencies. And so this talent management group will provide the necessary handholding to some creators, not all creators. So it'll be, but it's also not necessarily the big time creators as well, right? And so they manage about, for YouTube side, manages about 12,000 creators, and each of the 1,000 employees is responsible between 10 to 20 creators. So they're basically acting as de facto agents within
It's
YouTube
pretty
to
high
make shit
touch.
happen. Yeah, it's very high touch. I mean, how do you know when, if you are eligible for that? Yeah, it doesn't really say.
If you don't know, you're not.
see, okay, so that's what we should do. We should create a talent agency called with the acronyms, if you know, then
Yeah.
right? And just like just that's it. Like if you're part of it,
Right. I mean, like
just
considering that somebody only has 10 to 20 people they're responsible for, like you probably should have heard from them, right?
I would assume so, unless it went to spam or or
Mhm.
maybe it's a fake, maybe it's a Russian hacker that wants access to our account. I don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't been offered free antivirus software, so we can't say. But yeah, they're basically equivalent of Hollywood's talent agents, right? So can't wait for the YouTube version of Entourage to roll out, and become a series on YouTube TV or YouTube Red or whatever they're calling it these days. But yeah. And then, Greg, why don't we talk about live stream shopping? What is that about on YouTube?
Well, we have a couple of articles this week about sort of live shopping or sort of shopping integrations. This was pretty interesting because the implementation doesn't seem particularly good from my point of view. But YouTube has been apparently testing previously some live shopping integration style tools. And the article here sort of says YouTube plans week-long live shopping event following tests of live streaming shopping with creators. I went and checked out some of those examples. They weren't that good, or at least I couldn't tell if they were good. I don't know, like in watching the replay, I scanned through quickly just to find it. YouTube has kind of inherently at any channel level, like the ability to sort of integrate like a storefront or sort of feature some products. So I saw that. I did see the example that Target had where it had like sort of on the right-hand side where the chat was sort of another option of like a storefront kind of thing. In general, though, I do think live shopping is like a tremendously interesting area. It seems like it's, we saw like Whatnot and a few other companies have shown tremendous revenue generation, but also just sort of like also significant like investor interest. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I think like what they are doing though is pretty interesting. And so YouTube did release, they had an interesting stat that I will share. They said that from the article, it says in partnership with Publicis and TalkShop, YouTube study found that 75% of viewers used YouTube for shopping inspiration. That's pretty phenomenal. Mm-hmm. For instance, by watching creators shop with me videos, it also found that 85% of viewers trust creators' recommendations and that viewers valued information quality and quantity over the production value of the videos. So much like we say, with podcasts and whatnot, as long as the content is good, most people will listen, right? But if you can improve the quality, I think it's the same seems true here, right? Like even if you're going to film it on your phone, but they know you, they trust you. This is what has always been true with social media, I think, it used to be true with social media, and what the appeal of creators is just that sense of authenticity and connection that does form between someone and their audience. And so this is really inspiring, I think, for any number of implementations that are possible on top of this. But they're rolling it out. It wasn't clear like when this week was going to be. I think they sort of said there's a week coming. But as we know, we've covered in the past, TikTok rolled out a partnership or integration with Shopify. A few of the examples that they highlighted in this article, by the way, were also Shopify stores. So maybe there's more of a Shopify integration potentially coming to the YouTube side as well. That would be interesting. Obviously, Instagram is pretty big on shopping and has a lot of integrated shopping tools as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think live and shopping is a pretty big and important part of the future. So let's see where that goes.
No, I agree. Like I think shopping is definitely the case. I mean, look how big QVC has become on terrestrial TV, right? On satellite TV. Yeah. Now you look at the digital age, internet age. Obviously, you need to have that, but of course, there's many QVCs that can come out of the woodworks, right? Obviously, you talked about TikTok.
Yeah.
Instagram is obviously going to it can do it. Look, I think people can do
Oh, by the way,
shopping.
we forgot Amazon Live, right? We talked about that a few weeks
Yeah,
ago as
Amazon
well.
Live.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
So, but I think shopping on YouTube is not necessarily anything new. I think the live streaming shopping aspect is new, and with respect to this article, because of course, like you can always do a taped show or video, and then embed the little pop-ups or whatever on your video. It's like, hey, if you want to, because you see it whether it's iJustine or Tom Buck or whoever that are like, hey, you want to buy this, click on the link below and or blah blah blah, right? Or you see these type of things, especially if you're looking at reviews. And Greg, you and I have like as I've gone through this journey to decorate my home office, right? You and I have had many conversations about what items I need to buy. How do I decorate this or that? Whether it comes to the microphone or whatever. And you've referenced a bunch of YouTubers who I've gone to look at like recommendations for a microphone or whatever. And all of them have like, oh, the Amazon link at the bottom or whatever,
Yeah.
because then
Mhm.
they wind up getting the affiliate link. So this is banking on live streaming, and I think that's the name of the game for a lot of these platforms. They want people to go live, right? Instagram, TikTok. Well, I don't think TikTok can necessarily go live, but all these type of things. And to your point about Shopify, Google at Google I/O last year, they announced this shopping graph, right? And everyone has a graph these days. But what Google's appeal is, like, what Google's attempt is that they want to surface shopping e-commerce aspects from across a multitude of different platforms. So the Shopify tie-in to a YouTube is not surprising. What I am surprised about is if YouTube will support additional e-commerce platforms besides just giving it to Shopify. Will they and besides Amazon, right? Obviously, the shopping graph is an attempt to rival Amazon, but will YouTube be supporting the shopping graph? And we'll see what happens with there. But I think it's a nice attempt, nice effort for YouTube. Great to see it happening. I wonder what the take would be from the YouTube side. Are they taking any cut from these purchases? Because I think
Yeah, it wasn't
embedding at
clear.
Amazon, like, you don't get
I
it.
guess is no though, right? Like, why would Target really be willing to give like a cut to Google, to YouTube to be able to sell here, right? Previously, at least with the affiliate side, you had affiliate links. They were just links off through whatever program was going to be. So there's obviously an opportunity for YouTube to offer some of the products and some other pieces along the way.
Well, I mean,
But yeah,
who knows with like commission fees? Like, there's always a tax on everything these days. So,
YouTube has
but
not done that historically. I mean, like, unless they're selling the thing, right?
right.
Like, so these shopping experiences tended to be linked out things. But we had another shopping story actually that you threw into the queue for this week, or
Oh, I did.
shopping related one.
You mean the
Yeah.
Shopify news?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Spotify and Shopify, the only difference is that there's actually a letter difference, right? Well, a character difference. I mean, they're not necessarily. So and props to Spotify for I think a Spotify executive did a tongue-in-cheek tweet. It's like, hey, well, since you guys are confusing us anyways, confusing two of us anyways. I'm like, huh, that's true. So Spotify and Shopify are teaming up. So if you are a band, if you're an artist on Spotify, you can integrate your Shopify account into Spotify. So
In all right, so in Spotify, you can show your Shopify store. Is
correct.
that right? All right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's in the app.
Yes, it will be in the app. So those that are anyone can use it. Let me.
You know what's funny, Ken? Is, by the way, wasn't the Spotify logo used to be green also? Right?
Yeah. So it was. It was green, and yeah, both had similar colors, green and white. Yeah, but obviously different countries, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
Shopify's based in Canada. Spotify is originally was based in Europe. I think Norway. I would say, but I'm not entirely sure. But I know definitely Europe.
Nordic place, yeah.
Yes, definitely in Europe. Okay, so if if you are an artist on Spotify with a P, you can go and make this integration from anywhere in the world. But only those listeners in Canada, the US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand will be able to access this. Will be able to access that integration currently.
That's the test.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyone can. Let's see.
This is interesting. So I think like
with the Shopify channel. Yeah.
Yeah. What I think is powerful here, or ultimately, I think these are broader trend lines, right? That we're seeing play out here, but it is ultimately the reduction in friction, right? So like, how do we commingle, commerce as close to the consumer as possible, right? And so if I've got your attention for a moment in time, while you're listening to a song, while you're watching a video, while you're engaging with me in real time, these are all opportunities, surfaces that, ultimately have more commerce potential. I forgot, did I mention yesterday, did I share that link with you or did I share it with Peter? There was this 2 Chinese streamers. Dan Lube shared this from Luma. He said it's a 2 Chinese streamers sold 18 billion RMB, about $3 billion worth of goods in a half-day live stream yesterday.
Wow.
Right. Think about that. So he pointed out, for context, that's almost as much as Twitter's annual revenue. That's insane.
That is insane. Like, yeah, that is insane.
But I think super insane.
Yeah, and that shows that and so here's the interesting thing, right? We're talking about statistics here. So I think this is a win for Shopify more than it is a win for Spotify, right? Because Shopify, it's a win for the H as opposed to the one with the P, right? Because Shopify is making it easy. Is making it easy for merchants to get their product out to people. It makes it easier to discover these products, right? This merchandise, and that's going after Amazon. Obviously, Shopify, Amazon, that's a big thing in terms of online commerce, right? Regardless, right? You can talk about PayPal, you can talk about Walmart and everything like that, but Shopify and Amazon, that's David and Goliath in a manner of speaking. But 50 million people, the creator economy is estimated to encompass approximately 50 million people according to Shopify, and it's said to be worth over $100 billion, right? So
wait, that's interesting. Shopify is using literally the signifier number and just claiming it as their own.
According to this article, which is probably not doing the proper attribution, because Shopify is probably saying that, hey, there's 50 million, but without actually giving the proper attribution. So there's some attribution. There's obviously an attribution error here. However, but for Spotify, they're like, cool, we have another opportunity. People can stay on our app longer, can make transactions, whatever. It just sweetens the pot for artists to be a part of it, right? It's like, it's all anything that kind of keeps the audio life cycle going is a win for Spotify. Shopify is like, hey, the more we can get creators to help creators get their products out there, as opposed to, because look, there's a pain point, because if you're an artist on Spotify and you want to say, hey, you want to buy my t-shirts to support the band or whatever, visit band.shopify.com. Like, you have a tendency to lose people, but if you could do it natively within Spotify, it makes it a lot easier it's a win-win.
Well, yeah, again, that's a friction thing. I think if you can get it closer, there's obviously value. But I don't know that that's the only strategy, but I certainly agree that taking the friction out is useful, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier for creators and as a whole. Like, they're like, they have all these different pieces together. Like, oh, I want to, I create this, I use Zealous for this, but then my music's on Spotify, but then I have a Shopify account. It's like, I want to be able to kind of like, they may not be able to look at the entire picture, right? And say, and how do I combine this without having a developer build something, with some native integration with an API or whatnot? This makes it easier for them. But but is it a defensible opportunity? What's to say? What's to stop Amazon from easily rolling this out? It's like not Amazon already has Amazon Music, Amazon has Audible and all these other audio platforms and Twitch. It's not to say they can't say, oh, okay, we'll integrate. I mean, actually, they probably already do have some integration with their e-commerce side of things. So, I think this is an ongoing battle for e-commerce supremacy in the creator space, right? But anyways, moving
Well,
on.
look, I think this is where we're going, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think like Linktree raised all that money to figure out commerce, right?
Yeah.
Not for anything else, right? So yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. Interesting times though, right? I mean, like I think we're at the beginning of this piece of the journey, but I think it's very exciting what's happening.
A couple of small little updates here, and then we can go on to deeper news. Look, if you're an Anchor user, if you're a creator on Anchor, you can now have video podcasting. So it's no longer just an audio platform. You can do video podcasting.
Oh,
yeah. So you can do live video.
How does it work then?
I texted you this saying we should.
Yeah, I know. I haven't looked at it though. Like I haven't gone in to see it. Like,
see,
is it
this is
you
this is
record
when
the
you
video
are
in the app?
You are purposely ignoring me. This is the thing. I sense you are trying to get me off the show because you don't pay me any mind. Like, I am starting to feel very, very offended here.
We're still waiting for your payment, Ken.
Wow. Wait, what? Anyways, okay. So, so here's what I gathered from this press release here, or this blog post. Support this video podcasting directly through Anchor. This is not through Spotify, so you don't. But obviously, Anchor is owned by Spotify. Eventually, you can upload video content and publish directly to Spotify. This video podcasting feature is launching on a rolling basis with a number of a number of key creators, including existing podcasters who are expanding to video, as well as video creators looking to extend their offering to Spotify listeners. End quote. Let's see. According to them, so if you want to find video content, open the Spotify mobile app, find the show you want, and the specific episode, hit play. At the bottom, on the play bar at the bottom of the screen, you'll see see the view to video full screen, and there you go. And Bob's your uncle.
So it does the audio, but also you can have video if it's there.
Yes. So it's not. I would imagine that we could take this show and just upload
we should try it.
Anchor. We can upload to Anchor.
Well,
and
they haven't,
if it's
probably
smart
haven't given us permission to do it yet, right?
Yeah. Well, we would have to. I think we have to apply, so to speak, right? But what it would do is what I would imagine would do is essentially extract the audio and just piece out the audio and the video aspect of things. So, and for those of you that are on Twitter Spaces, you no longer have to worry about this 6,000 minimum follower requirement. Anybody now can create a Twitter Space.
I didn't even know that was still in place. So
yeah, apparently that's the case now. That is no longer the case now. Actually, I misspoke. Ability to actually host a space was limited to Twitter users with 600 followers or more. I apologize. I was actually mistaken in my six. I was off by factor of 10. Yeah, factor of 10. Whatever. But it's now open to the public to host. Kind of catching up to what Clubhouse did. Clubhouse abandoned their invite-only state in July. So have fun. Looking forward to seeing more Twitter Spaces where in the Fleets bar of the app. Rest in peace, Fleets. Yeah. But looking forward to seeing more improvements there. All right, let's talk about crypto NFTs.
So I didn't see a press release about this. Someone sent me this link, so I can't speak entirely to. I didn't have any more information, I guess. Let's put it that way. But TikTok has apparently teamed up with the folks from Immutable X. Immutable X, in case you don't know, is basically like what they call like a level 2 platform on Ethereum. The main gist of it, at least from my understanding, because I'm not an expert in this area either, is that Immutable allows for gas-free sort of NFT minting and sales inside of the Ethereum platform, blockchain. So what that means is that usually one of the biggest, crappiest parts about doing selling NFTs actually is just that the gas fees are actually can be almost double, triple, or any multiple greater than the actual price of the thing you're trying to buy. It is also, by the way, the same technology that Vive uses, which is currently a non-crypto, non-blockchain sort of based platform, but they've announced that they will be selling or moving to Immutable X. So I think there's something really powerful about that conceptually. The moments, I don't actually think it's live. Actually, I believe what they
No, it's
said is
3 days. I think it's
3 days out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems like they're speaking of it like they're taking top moments from TikTok and selling them. It's not clear. It wasn't clear like if anyone's going to be able to opt into this. They sort of have like a hand selected list of folks, Gary V, FM Mecca, and a few others, that are in here. I'm not really sure what's going on or what the scale or reach of this is going to be ultimately. But it is interesting to see TikTok kind of, I think, leading right here. I don't think there's any other major platform involved in the minting side, right? Like, so I know Twitter is accepting crypto, but they aren't selling them yet, and they're certainly not facilitating sort of like the resale of like your tweets. Like, and you could imagine it, right? Jack sold his first tweet for like $2-3 million, I believe it was, right? So yeah, I think it's an interesting experiment. It's an interesting choice with the Immutable X, and I think that there's some potential here. To sort of start to make mainstream a lot more of this type of interaction and this type of like sort of engagement model. Because once you get it on like TikTok and you're able to sell it there, I think you can do tremendously different. It's a very different value prop, right? Than like sort of the current state of crypto.
Yeah. And I think, I think you're right. I think nobody's really doing this type of a take from an NFT standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised to see Facebook getting into this at some point. I mean, yes, Facebook is looking at some crypto side of things, obviously with their Novi wallet, and the Libra coin that they're trying to get off the ground, but they're not doing anything specific to NFTs. I seem to recall that Instagram may be thinking about doing something like that, but I'm not. I think that's just like rumored talk. But what's interesting about this is like TikTok doing top moments. TikTok has become this cultural, I don't know, it's like this scrapbook of cultural moments in this age, right? Because you look at all these different challenges, these type of memes, these historical type of events. TikTok has kind of become that area. So I mean, it's not saying a place where you go necessarily for breaking news, right? Or it's not a news source or anything like that. But I think from a lifestyle and culture side of things, that's where people go to kind of know what is popular these days and what not and what's not. It's not longer MTV. It's no longer VH1. It's not the tabloid magazines or Vogue or anything like that. It's all happening on TikTok. And so this is giving people an opportunity to buy a piece of it, so to speak, right? And could we see Snap doing this? I mean, look, this type of thing could be replicated across. Yeah. But I think the TikTok is able to capitalize on this, and because they have that, and they're going to have that broad appeal, and that wide audience, and people are, and it's not necessarily that because Gary V has something. It's not I can redo his, or whatever that terminology is. Like, I can just copy his, add my spin onto it, as a meme, and then sell that as an NFT. Of course, this is giving more of a priority to Gary V, right? Because he's going to be heavily promoted by TikTok, as opposed to me, who's not part of this top moments program. So this is probably going to, this is highly curated. I would imagine this is going to, I'd be fascinated to see if TikTok actually releases, any statistics from when this actually goes live, how much has actually been sold, who's the top buyer, cumulative value, all those type of things, just to see how big of an impact it has. So, but we'll have to wait at least 3 days to find out. So, but
yeah, so I think it's a good sign of things to come. TikTok continues to show they're innovating, on a regular basis.
yeah.
Related, or sort of again in that convergence area, sort of platforms. Patron is a new fund that actually just got announced. Is this their first fund? I couldn't remember. I couldn't. I don't remember.
As opposed to it being Patreon.
It's not Patreon, it's Patron. And it is a new fund that is blending together gaming and crypto, basically, right?
Yeah.
So, as crypto is making sort of like crypto and gaming kind of make perfect sense to me, right? Like there was always been a virtual economy. There's always been sort of collectibles. So I think there's a lot going on and that can be said inside of this arena. The Patron fund is $90 million. And, now they're going to go out and start investing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The founders, I guess, previously worked at Riot Games. And they've got a lot of big VCs, Andreessen behind them and a lot of others. So I think it's super interesting, like just to see how fast, it feels like people were talking about crypto for like, what did Amber say? She got into crypto like in 2009, right? Yep. There have been people talking about crypto for so long, but it feels like finally there's sort of like a coming of age moment around crypto where it's moved past sort of the tinkering and the toiling to like where at least there's starting to be experimentation outside of sort of the pure passionate enthusiast, sort of geek side of it, right? Like, and this is just great to see because I think like the applicability of like what you could do with crypto, or more importantly, the blockchain and some of the new technologies that are coming, I think is really powerful. To some degree, this is also like, a lot of investors getting psyched up about like what happened with Axie Infinity and sort of seeing how big that exploded. I think now everyone sort of like has become the it thing now is like, how do we blend gaming and crypto? There's obviously a lot of interest in blending creators and crypto together. So yeah, I think, I don't know, it's a little early still. They said that they've made 4 investments so far in the space, but they haven't announced any of them. It'll be interesting to see, what happens with this. But my guess is that this is again another very big, very important trend line going forward, right? Like where we're just going to see a ton of people moving into this domain as well, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a VC fund that's focused on crypto and gaming. It's a unique take. They're obviously not the only crypto VC out there. Blockchain Capital and the like. Obviously, sure. Andreessen Horowitz has this massive fund focused on crypto. And looking at the potential, obviously they invested in Coinbase and the like. And there's a lot more room to be had in there. And I think what's interesting about what Patron's doing is that they're looking at it from a, it's not about just tipping in crypto or paying for something or in-app purchases using crypto. Maybe they're looking at other aspects of what crypto can do to enhance the gaming experience besides just monetary or fiduciary transactions, right? And I look back at what Amber Case told us on Wednesday about NFTs, right? It's not, NFTs are just, JPEGs or PNG, whatever. They're images right now. Like people are buying images, but she's thinking like, oh, there's potential beyond the image, right? In terms of offering subscriptions or memberships or, unlocking a secret door. So could this, I'd be very fascinated to see what they do here. And, it's what they're, one of the partners at Patron in this Q&A with TechCrunch was like, would you be using capital to buy tokens and equity? Will you be thinking about the different modes of investment? What are your LPs' expectations on this front? They replied, one of their first deals is a pure token deal. We evaluate these on a case-by-case basis and our perspective that it should be a thoughtful implementation for the type of startup or product that the founder should try to build. We've told our LPs that Web3 and tokens will be a significant part of the fund, given this strong convergence between gaming and Web3. And it's one of the reasons why they're excited to be investing in Patreon. So I think this is they're looking at, new business models, and we'll see, and maybe this will usher in kind of like this explosion of opportunities that, besides, it's, how much are you buying, facilitating Bitcoin or crypto transactions, right? I think,
Yeah. By the way, two small corrections. Jeremiah pointed out it's VV, which sounds silly to me. And I was wrong. Somebody else is using Immutable X. I can't remember who it is, but VV is using GoChain, according to Jeremiah, for their backend.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
But we do have a couple other. We only have a few more minutes, so
why don't we talk about Patreon?
Yeah. So the last two stories, basically, though, I think what they basically boiled down to was we finally got some data or some analysis on like how creators are making money. And one of the articles came out, the information carried this earlier this week. I believe they did this by examining sort of the top 1,000 Patreon patrons to sort of understand this, because this data is not formally available, but it's as they say, publicly disclosed earnings. And what they found basically was that the top performing category on Patreon was actually podcasts and audio. And I just thought that was really interesting. What they say, 35% of the top 1,000 Patreon performers, for instance, are in audio, but under 10% are producing instructional content, which makes a lot of sense to me, because I think like the folks who make instructional content have more like sort of revenue rich options and direct options, right? Like with courses and Teachable and other things like that as a way of monetizing, as opposed to say in the audio space, which I actually think it makes a lot of sense, is that because audio, kind of like the point you're making before, Ken, about like someone saying go to band.spotify.com is sort of like you're probably gonna have a lot of drop off. I feel like that's a similar problem that podcasters have faced. And no, it's not that podcasters can't make money. I believe there's still like $1 billion a year in revenue just to podcasting on the podcasting side, but it's largely on advertising. Of course, it follows a classic long tail. So there's probably like a few people making most of that money and then almost everyone else making almost nothing. But I do think podcasters put in a significant amount of work. They often deliver a high quality product. And I do think, and I've heard, and I've patronized many a podcast because it is the easiest and best way to actually do it. And I think like much like in a Clubhouse sort of point of view, the closeness of voice is really powerful, right? And so I think like it does help foster sort of a stronger feeling or emotion or connection between you and sort of the creators.
Mm-hmm. What about with Stripe? So Stripe has this interesting report, or actually article yesterday called Indexing the Creator Economy. What was that about?
Yeah. So Stripe, I think we mentioned this earlier. Stripe is behind a significant portion of the startup ecosystem around the creator space for sure, right? So like almost every company I can think of, at least the ones that are based from the US, start on Stripe, right? Like they use Stripe Connect in particular, most often to sort of fund, to fuel sort of like banking and connections and transactions. And so Stripe said, hey, like, we matter in the space too. So we're going to put together some data. And here's a quote from there. They said, in aggregating monetization across these 50 platforms. So they actually went and pulled out like the top 50 platforms that they power. And they power things like Buy Me a Coffee, like all the tools you've heard of, right? Like Stripe is behind them. So they took that data in aggregate and they said, we found that creators will soon pass more than $10 billion in aggregate earnings. While 2020 saw a jump in new creators, it wasn't a one-time spike. A year later, creators are still coming online at a record clip. The number of creators is up a whopping 48% year over year. Now, the last stat I had seen was that up through 2023, we were going to see like an 11% growth. So if that may be the full amount entering, but maybe not monetizing. So Stripe's side is really interesting that they're showing more and more people moving to monetization faster, right? So according to Stripe, in total, the platforms that they mentioned, those 50, have onboarded 668,000 creators. So that's interesting, right? Because 668,000 creators are monetizing out of that on Stripe from some Stripe back thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 50 million full and part-time creators.
Right.
So it shows how much room is left, right, in the market still, right? Like for folks to still monetize. Another quote they had was just that in the U.S., the number of creators earning a living wage greater than $69,000 per year has increased 41% year over year, which is phenomenal. But we still have a lot of work to do.
Yep. And this kind of goes back to what we started at the
By the way,
beginning.
that's 41% on like a tiny ass little number.
But this kind of goes back to what we talked about, kind of putting it back full circle, right? Where this is probably why PayPal's like, hey, if you're talking about the 600, nearly 700,000 creators out of a 50, like PayPal's like, hey, there's a lot of opportunity for us to capitalize it, right? Like, why let Stripe have all the fun? And here's
the thing: Stripe isn't having all the fun, right? Like I know MCNs, I know lots of other platforms that pay out using PayPal. Like I said, I think it's more of a failing of the way we cover the space than it is, like a representation of the reality out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
my guess is there's way more money flowing to creators than Stripe has on PayPal.
Yeah, no, I buy into that. I mean, it's like if you factor in, paying on Patreon or on OnlyFans or international. I mean, obviously, that's more of a
international, but also think about how many times you've seen alongside a Stripe link also a PayPal link, right? Yeah. Or think about like all the collaborative efforts and work between creators and inside the ecosystem. Like they probably pay each other with PayPal also, right? So, yeah, it could be, who knows? It could be like an order of magnitude greater than what Stripe is seeing, right? Like,
well, I'd be fascinated to hear from like the international processors, but like not TransferWise. I forget. There was one that Square bought recently, like this massive one. I can't remember. Anyways, but yeah, there's a lot of these international ones that have way bigger following or user base than PayPal or Stripe combined. So it'd be very fascinating to hear from those people, those companies, to see what they're seeing in the creator space as well. If they kind of do something like this. Also, you factor in like a Visa, you factor in like a MasterCard, those kind of traditional credit card processors to see what theirs, are they getting into this space as well? So it's a good data set. What Stripe has done is a good data set
for sure, without a doubt. It's great to see.
I don't think
it's promising. But it shows how much room we still have left.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not a full representation of anything. It'd be very interesting to see what the overlap is in between it. Mm-hmm. Actually, fun little small thing. So the creators that Stripe looked at are based in North America, 85%, Europe, Middle East, Africa, 11%, Asia Pacific, 4%, Latin America, 0.5%. Creator economy have germinated in North America, but it's growing in other regions faster. Countries with the quickest growth of new creators year over year: Czech Republic, 270%, Romania, 215%, and Brazil, 171%. All countries where Stripe has recently expanded. So
right. So Stripe's still new to those. Like, look, we just posted an article or a tweet about 2 Chinese live streamers doing like $3 billion in 24 hours, right? Yeah. Like, so what's working in Asia will slowly make its way here, and we'll have, I imagine, similar levels of success. So yeah, we're very exciting times for sure. We are at time though, so we probably need to hustle on over. I'm going to just bring this up just to close us up for today. So next weekend, we do have our friend Peter Shankman joining us.
That's
going to be great. And then coming up after that, obviously we have our office hours on Tuesday, Peter Shankman on Wednesday, Creative Briefs on Friday. And then John Allen and Tom Buck will be joining us later in November. We are booked up through the rest of the year and into January now. But if you do want to be on the show, by all means, head over to creativeeconomy.com/guest list. You can find a list, a form there for you to put your name into the hat. We're always looking for more folks to join us live in the studio anytime, especially when we're having our discussions. So on that note, I think it's probably time for us to say goodbye, but lots of news as usual, Ken. Too much news, if anything.
That's
But
what keeps us going, right? I mean, if there's
yeah,
no news, then you and I would have to banter, and nobody wants to hear that.
for sure, for sure. Well, thank you everybody, and we'll see you all soon. Have a great one. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye bye.
I don't have a phone number for this contact.
Really?
Who?
You know what? It's using the wrong camera. That's why. All right, I'm gonna end the stream there. Bye bye, guys.